Behind the smile, she walked alone. The morning air was still, like it was holding its breath. The sun hadn't fully climbed over the horizon yet, but the sky was already painted in soft oranges and sleepy blues. It was the kind of quiet that usually fills a film set right before everyone rushes in with coffee cups, makeup brushes, and scripts. But today, something felt different. Keanu Reeves stood by the trailer, sipping plain black coffee from a paper cup. His eyes scanned the lot slowly, calmly. He had learned to notice things others missed, the nervous intern struggling with wires, the background actor adjusting his shoes, or the tired assistant wiping her eyes in secret. Then he saw her, Ana de Armas. She was walking alone, head slightly down, arms folded tight across her chest. No one walked with her, no assistant, no makeup artist, no friend, not today. Her eyes looked straight ahead, but there was a hollowness in her steps, a silence that didn't match the cheerful energy she usually carried. Keanu knew that kind of walk. He had walked like that himself once years ago, when life had quietly broken something inside him. He gently placed his cup down and walked in her direction, not calling out her name, not rushing. Just walking. She didn't see him at first, not until they were only a few steps apart. "Anna," he said softly. She blinked and turned, startled, then smiled. "Oh, hey, Keanu. Da-da-da-da-da." But her smile was quick. Polite, the kind of smile you wear when you don't want someone to ask what's wrong. He didn't push. Instead, he walked beside her, their steps slow, like the morning itself. "You okay?" he asked, not loudly, not softly. Just enough. Anna paused for a second. Her smile faded. "I'm fine," she said quickly. Too quickly, Keanu nodded. Walked in silence for a few more steps. Then she stopped. "Actually," she whispered, "I'm not." She looked away fast, embarrassed, her eyes glassy. "I didn't sleep much. It's just... ... It's nothing. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I love this job. I love everyone here. But sometimes... ... I feel invisible. Like I'm just a beautiful face for the camera, not a real person. And today, I don't know. I woke up and felt... ... empty." Her voice cracked on the last word. Keanu didn't speak right away, just stood with her, quiet, present. His calmness wasn't heavy or demanding. It felt like shelter. "I've been there," he finally said. "Many times?" She turned to look at him, surprised. "You?" she asked. "Yeah," he said simply. "Even when everyone clapped. Even when they called my name. I felt alone. I felt like I didn't matter beyond the role." Anna exhaled. Her shoulders dropped, a tiny sign of relief. "Do you want to sit for a bit?" he asked. She nodded. They found a bench near the edge of the lot beneath a half-blooming tree. No one was around yet. The city was still waking up. Birds were singing somewhere far off. Anna took a deep breath and let the silence fill the space between them. "Thank you for stopping," she said. "I didn't think anyone noticed." Keanu smiled softly. "I noticed. Sometimes the loudest cries come from the quietest walks." She looked at him, eyes wide. "That's beautiful." He shrugged. "Just true." For a moment, neither said anything. Then Anna reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. It was old, edges worn. She hesitated, then held it out to him. "I write here," she said, "when I feel too much." He took it gently and flipped through. Pages of drawings, tiny poems, fragments of thoughts. Sadness, hope, fear, wonder. Raw and real. "These are powerful," he whispered. She smiled for real this time. A slow smile from the heart. "No one's ever read them," she said. Keanu looked at her with quiet respect. "Thank you for letting me." Just then, someone called from the set. Voices were rising. The day was beginning. Crew members, light operators, directors, and extras all started to gather. Anna stood, brushing off her jeans. "I guess we have to go," she said. Keanu stood too, but paused. Then did something unexpected. He turned to her and bowed slightly, not dramatic, not joking. It was a quiet, respectful bow. like honoring someone not for their fame but for their strength. "The crew might not see what you carry inside," he said, "but I do." Anna's eyes filled again, but this time they didn't carry only sadness. They carried light. She didn't say anything, just nodded, then walked toward the set. And for the first time that day, she wasn't walking alone. Keanu stood back. Watching, he saw how people passed her by, too busy or distracted. But something shifted. Someone noticed his gaze, then looked at her too. The camera operator paused. The costume assistant stopped fixing collars and watched. One by one, the crew turned toward Anna, almost like something silent passed through them. She walked past the lights, past the cameras. And as she reached her mark, ready to begin the scene, the director raised his voice to call for action. But stopped, the set went silent, not because of the lighting, not because of a technical error, but because they all saw her, truly saw her, and no one said a word. They just stood still, watching. And somewhere behind the silence, Keanu stood with his hands in his pockets, a quiet smile on his face. He knew the greatest change doesn't come with a speech. It comes when one person chooses to see another fully, when one soul reaches quietly to lift another. And in that moment, cameras weren't rolling, but something real was happening. Something that would stay with them far beyond the scene. The moment the camera caught what words couldn't, the scene was supposed to be simple. Anna walks into a dimly lit room, looks around, finds an old letter, and breaks down in tears. Just 30 seconds of screen time, just one small part of a much bigger movie. But when the director called action, something happened that no one expected. Anna stepped into the frame. But this time, she didn't just act, she lived the scene. Her shoulders trembled. Her hands reached slowly, as if she was remembering something personal. When she picked up the letter, she didn't fake the tears, they came on their own. Real, unfiltered emotion poured out of her like a river held back for too long. The crew didn't move. The assistant director forgot to breathe. Even the camera operator's hands trembled a little as he followed her. Then silence. No one dared to yell, "Cut!" The director just whispered, "That's it, ... that's the one." Anna stood there, shaking, breathing hard, her eyes red. Whole body trembling, Keanu walked toward her slowly. Not as an actor, not as a co-star, but as a friend. He didn't say anything. He just stood beside her, offering presence. The director finally stepped in, nodding in awe. "Anna, ... that was ... beyond brilliant." She nodded slightly, still catching her breath. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. And from behind the cameras, the crew, one by one, clapped softly. Not for a performance, but for truth. For courage, Anna looked over at Keanu. Her lips moved almost soundlessly. "Thank you." Keanu gave a quiet nod, then whispered, "You did that." But inside, he knew something had changed. Later that day, as the sun climbed high in the set, returned to its usual noise and movement, word began to spread. People talked in hushed tones. "Did you see that scene? I've never seen her go that deep. Something happened today." But only a few knew the real reason. Anna had found her voice, not because someone gave her a script, but because someone made space for her silence. During lunch break, Anna sat alone again. Not because she was being avoided, but because she needed a moment to herself. She opened her notebook and began writing. Her hands moved fast. Emotion still clung to her fingertips like wet paint. Keanu noticed from a distance, but didn't interrupt. He sat under a tree with his own notepad, sketching something quietly. Then, the sky grew dark. Clouds rolled in faster than expected. Thick and gray, a sudden downpour hit the set, and people ran for cover. Anna stood frozen. Her notebook pages were still open, rain hitting them hard. Keanu ran to her without a second thought. Without a word, he took off his jacket and held it over her notebook, shielding it. Water soaked into his shirt, but he didn't care. "Save your words," he said softly. Anna clutched the notebook to her chest. Nodding crew members watched from their tents and umbrellas. The sight of Keanu standing in the rain for her, it made something settle deep in their hearts. Not many people would do that. Not in Hollywood. Not in this business. Later, as they both stood under a makeshift shelter, Anna turned to him. "Why are you like this?" she asked gently. "Like what?" Keanu replied with a half smile. "You see things. You don't walk past pain. Most people do," he shrugged, "because people walked past mine. And I remember how that felt." Her face softened. "But how did you survive it?" He paused. "I didn't. Not all of it. Some parts of me are still healing. Some may never fully." Anna looked at him quietly. "Maybe that's why you can hold others the way you do." They stood in the silence, listening to the rain. No rush, no pressure. Just two people, both a little broken, both still standing. When the crew returned, the energy had shifted. Not just because of the scene earlier, not just because of the rain, but because now everyone saw Anna differently, and they saw Keanu more deeply. Later that evening, after wrap, the cast was invited to a fancy dinner hosted by the producers. It was in a tall glass building overlooking the city. Waiters with trays. Laughter echoing off marble walls. Dresses glittered and cameras flashed. Anna arrived quietly in a simple black dress. Not loud, not trying to impress. It's just her. Real. Some actors turned to look. Some whispered. A famous actress with too much makeup said loud enough for others to hear, "Oh, I didn't know we were doing minimal effort tonight." Anna froze. Keanu, who had just stepped into the room, heard it. He looked around the room once, then slowly walked straight to Anna. He didn't say a word to the woman who mocked her. Instead, he held out his arm and said, "You look stunning. Would you join me?" Anna blinked. I was going to leave early," she said, unsure. "Then stay 5 minutes," he said. "With me?" She nodded and gently took his arm. They walked through the room together. Suddenly, the same people who ignored her now smiled. The same ones who whispered now waved. But Anna didn't care about their change in behavior, because what meant more than any spotlight, was that someone chose to stand beside her in the shadows. At their table, Keanu said, "You know, sometimes this industry forgets the heart behind the face." Anna replied, "But some people remind it." He smiled. "Only when someone brave enough shows up real." And that night, she didn't feel alone. She didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. And it wasn't because of the cameras. It was because of something rarer. Someone cared enough to see the soul, not just the actress. One voice changed how they looked at her the next morning. The studio lot looked like every other day. Trailers buzzing, grips adjusting lights, assistants rushing scripts from one end to the other. But beneath that usual rhythm there was something quieter moving through the crew, something unspoken, something that had started the day Anna cried on set. And the day Keanu stood beside her, Anna walked in early. Earlier than anyone expected. It's not because she had a call time, but because she needed to be there. The rain from the day before had dried up, but she still held her notebook tight, like it was the last fragile piece of her spirit. Today, she wasn't hiding it. Today, she had decided to read something from it, aloud only to herself. At first, she found a quiet corner behind one of the larger trailers, near where costume boxes were stacked. She sat on a crate, opened the notebook, and whispered her words softly. "I am not the smile you want. I am not the line you wrote. I am the pause between takes. The silence you never quote, ... double quotes." Her voice trembled. Her eyes stayed low. But she kept reading. What she didn't realize was that someone was standing a few steps away. Keanu, he didn't move, didn't make a sound. He just listened respectfully, gently. 2 words that weren't meant for anyone but her. When she finally closed the notebook, she exhaled as if letting go of a secret she had kept for too long. Then she saw him. Her breath caught. "You heard that?" she asked. Keanu stepped forward. "Yes." I didn't mean. She started to explain, but he interrupted gently. "Thank you." Maina looked confused. "For what?" "For trusting yourself. For speaking truth. Most of us forget how." Before she could reply, a loud call echoed across the set. Scene 12. Final rehearsal in 5.
Ow.
they both stood. Anna tucked the notebook back into her bag as they walked together toward the main stage. Keanu asked, "Would you ever share those words with them?" Anna hesitated. "The crew? The cast?" He nodded. Double quotes, "I don't know," she said honestly. "Would they even listen?" Keanu looked ahead. "They listened the other day. Just didn't know it was your voice." That stayed with her. Later, after the scene was shot and the lights cooled down, Anna found herself sitting with a group of extras during a long lighting break. They were all laughing, talking about the business, the long hours, the cold coffee, the call times. One of them, a young woman with kind eyes, looked at Anna and said something unexpected. "You looked really strong yesterday." Anna blinked. "Me?" "Yeah," the girl nodded. "The way you held yourself. The way you walked into that party with him." Anna smiled. "I didn't feel strong." The girl leaned in. "You didn't have to. You just needed to see one of." "Let's not give in." Anna felt a warmth rise in her chest. Later that evening, Keanu invited a few people for tea at a quiet little cafe just outside the studio. Nothing fancy, just a small place with mismatched chairs and old jazz playing from a dusty speaker. Anna arrived, surprised to see that it wasn't just a few people. The entire core crew was there. The lighting guy who always wore 2 different socks. The older costume lady with 6 cats. The camera operator with tattoos of poetry lines. Even the food truck guy. They all sat around, sipping tea and talking about things that didn't involve money or scripts. Keanu stood near the back. Chatting with the owner, Anna walked over to him. "You planned this?" He smiled. "I just booked the space." She looked around. "Why?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because these people matter. You matter. And sometimes reminding everyone of that doesn't need a stage, just a table."
Anna
Sat down with the others. Stories flowed like the tea. Memories of past shoots, stories of family far away, jokes about messed up props and forgotten lines. Then the room quieted for a moment. Someone asked, "Anna, we heard you write things. Poetry, right?" She froze. Keanu glanced at her but didn't say a word. He let her decide. Anna took a breath, then reached into her bag. She opened the notebook slowly. "Just one," she said. "It's short," she read. "They call it silence. But I call it a sea where words go to breathe when no one lets them be." The room stayed still. Someone whispered, "Wow." Another said, "Read another?" Just like that, a crew that had seen her as just another starlet. Now listen like she was their storyteller. That night, on her way home, Anna rode in a quiet car with Keanu. The city lights shimmered past the window like reflections of everything she was trying to hold inside. "You did something today," he said. "I just read a poem." "No," he said gently. "You gave people permission to feel." She looked at him, unsure of what to say. "You don't need to prove your worth," Keanu added. "You just need to be who you are. And that's more than enough." Anna turned to the window, tears forming again. Not from sadness, but because for the first time in months, she felt safe being herself. The next morning, the director called for a full cast and crew meeting before shooting. That was rare. People gathered under the main tent, coffee in hands. Eyes curious, he stood in front, holding a sheet of paper. "I just want to say something before we start," he said. "This project has been special. Not just because of the script or the actors, but because something shifted recently. We started seeing each other again, not as tools, but as people." He turned to Anna. "Thank you, Anna, for reminding us how powerful honesty can be." She blinked in shock. Someone in the back clapped. Then someone else soon. The whole tent filled with applause. She didn't know what to do. She just stood there, heart open, hands pressed over her chest. And Keanu. He was standing in the back, watching. Quietly, because sometimes real leadership is silent. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is help someone find the strength they forgot they had. The moment they tried to break her again, 3 days passed. Ana de Armas had become the quiet heart of the set. She didn't speak more than before. She didn't suddenly demand attention or take over scenes. But people listened when she spoke. They looked when she entered. They smiled not because she was famous, but because they finally saw her as a person. Still, not everyone liked the shift. In every room there are some who thrive on control, power, image, and on this particular set, one of them was Clara Morrow, the executive producer's niece. She wasn't part of the creative team, but she had influence. Her father funded part of the film. Because of that, she walked with the confidence of someone who never had to earn her place. Clara didn't like what was happening. "Since when is this movie about poetry?" she whispered one morning to a stylist. The stylist didn't answer. Since when did Anna become the voice everyone listens to?
Oh.
Jealousy is a quiet poison. That morning, Clara let it drip. She walked onto set during rehearsals, pretending to check lighting, pacing behind monitors like she belonged. But her eyes were fixed on Anna. Anna was sitting near the edge of the stage, quietly preparing for her next scene. She had her notebook open. Jotting a few thoughts before the camera rolled, Clara marched straight toward her. "Anna," she said sharply, loud enough for several crew members to hear, "can we stop with the diary thing already? This is a professional set, not high school literature class." Anna looked up, surprised, confused. "No, I get it," Clara cut her off. "You've had your little emotional moment. The crying scene was lovely, very ... raw, but we need to stay. Focus now. No more sideshows." Anna froze. People turned. The hairstylist stepped back. A lighting tech stopped adjusting the rig. Keanu standing nearby, that heard every word. He slowly placed his water bottle on the floor and walked over, steady, calm, controlled. "Clara," he said softly, "is there a problem?" He gave a fake smile. "Not at all. Just making sure we keep things tight." Keanu glanced at Anna, then looked back at Clara. "Funny," he said, "because ever since Anna opened that notebook, this crew has been tighter than ever. The performances have been stronger. The set has been calmer. Morale is up. So if this is what a sideshow looks like, maybe we need more of them." Clara's smile faded. "Well, we don't all need to be sentimental." Keanu nodded slowly. "You're right. Not everyone has to feel. But those who do, they build stories that matter." A hush fell over the set. Clara's cheeks flushed. She looked around, realizing no one was backing her up. Then she turned and walked off without another word. Keanu knelt beside Anna. "You okay?" She nodded, slowly closing her notebook. "Thank you." He shook his head. "Don't thank me. This is your space. No one gets to take it." She smiled faintly, but inside, she was shaken. After rehearsals ended, she disappeared for a while. People noticed. Keanu noticed. He looked for her around the lot, checked near the trailers, the garden corner, even the cafeteria. Then, finally, he found her in the costume room, sitting between two racks of clothes, knees pulled up, hugging her notebook. "You found my hiding place," she said quietly. "I wasn't looking for a hiding place," he replied. "I was looking for you." Anna smiled through tired eyes. "I thought I was stronger than this. I thought I didn't care what people said anymore." "That's not weakness," Keanu said. "That's being human." "But she embarrassed me, in front of everyone. And they saw how you handled it with grace," he said gently. "That's what they'll remember." They sat in silence for a while. Then Anna opened her notebook again. "Can I read you something?" she asked. Keanu nodded. She read the world threw its stone, sharp with doubt, but I caught it and built a place no one could tear down. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "You know that's not just a poem, right? What is it then?" "It's who you are." That night, the cast was invited to a private charity event. A few of the film's producers were attending. Media, too, was supposed to be glamorous, red carpet, flashbulbs, speeches. Interviews. Anna didn't want to go, but Keanu encouraged her. "You don't need to dress up for them," he said. "You just need to show up for you." So she did. She wore a plain, deep blue dress. Simple shoes, no diamonds, no makeup artist. Just her. Keanu met her at the entrance. "You look like someone." "Who writes truth?" he whispered. They entered together as expected. Clara was there too, already posing for cameras, laughing loudly, trying to soak in attention. She saw them arrive, and narrowed her eyes. During the event, one of the hosts approached Anna and said, "We heard about your poem on set. Would you be willing to share one tonight? Something short?" Anna's heart stopped in front of this crowd. Keanu touched her arm gently. "Only if you want to." She took a deep breath. "Okay," she said. 10 minutes later, the host stood at the microphone. "Before we introduce our final guest, we wanted to invite someone very special, someone whose quiet voice has moved hearts behind the scenes. Please welcome Anna de Armas." Polite applause. Anna walked to the mic slowly. She looked out at the sea of elegant suits, sparkly gowns, raised eyebrows. Clara crossed her arms. Anna took out her notebook. "This is something I wrote 2 days ago," she said. "When I felt small," she began, "they don't hear the whisper beneath your hello. They don't see the shadows in the places. You go, but if you still stand, though broken and bruised, then your silence is louder than any who refuse to know you." The room fell still. A few people blinked away tears. Then applause, soft at first, then stronger. Even the host nodded with emotion. Clara looked down, defeated, pretending to check her phone. Anna stepped back. Returned to her seat beside Keanu, he leaned in and said, "You didn't just read a poem, you reminded them who you are." Anna's hands trembled slightly, but her heart felt steady for the first time in years. When the event ended, people came up to her. One said, "Your words helped me tonight." Another said, "My daughter's going through something. ... I'm going to share your poem with her." Anna smiled, and in that moment, she understood something deep. When you speak from truth, even quietly, the right hearts will always hear you. When the world watched her rise, one man stayed behind the curtain the next morning. Something unexpected happened. Anna's poem from the charity event, the one she read with a trembling voice and a steady heart, had been filmed by a guest and posted online. No one knew who posted it first, but by sunrise, it had already gone viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments. I don't know who she is, but that poem just healed something in me. She said everything I've been feeling and couldn't explain. We need more people like this in Hollywood. At the center of it all was a quiet woman who never asked to be seen, only to be heard. Anna didn't even have to open her phone to know it had happened. The moment she stepped onto set, she felt the shift. People stared differently, but not with judgment or distance. They smiled. They nodded. Some even whispered thank you in passing. It wasn't fame. It was connection. As she walked to her trailer, she heard someone jogging behind her. It was Maria, a young crew assistant who usually worked in shadows, running errands, delivering scripts, forgotten by most Anna. She said, breathless, holding a folded paper, "I know you're busy, but I wrote something after hearing your poem. I don't know if it's good, but ... here." Anna opened the paper and read the short poem. It was raw, nervous, imperfect, but it was real. "It's beautiful, Anna," said Maria, smiled with disbelief. "Really?" "Yes," Anna said. "I hope you never stop writing." By noon, more came. Someone gave her a drawing based on her words. Someone else left a small note of thanks. A makeup artist who had been working in silence for years even asked if Anna would read at her niece's school someday. But with all the new love pouring in, Anna noticed something else too. Keanu was quieter than usual. He stayed back during breaks, didn't join group chats. He worked hard as always and smiled politely. But something about his eyes had changed. Anna watched him during one break, sitting on a bench near the prop storage, flipping through an old, worn-out notebook of his own. She walked over. "You're the one who told me to speak," she said. He looked up. "You always had a voice. You just needed space." "But you gave me that space," she said. "You saw me when no one else did." He smiled gently, but didn't reply right away. Then he said, "I'm happy they finally see what I saw." Anna sat beside him. "But why do I feel like you're disappearing now?" Keanu looked down at his hands. "Because people love the moment someone rises," he said. "But they rarely remember the ones who lifted them." She reached over and touched his hand. "I remember," he looked at her. "You don't owe me anything, Anna. This is your journey, your truth." "I'm not paying a debt," she said. Firmly, I'm standing with the one person who stood beside me when I felt like nothing. The wind picked up, leaves rustling nearby. It was one of those moments that felt both quiet and big at the same time. Will you read me something? From your notebook, she asked. Keanu hesitated. It's not as graceful as yours. I don't need graceful, she smiled. I need real. He opened the notebook, found a page, and read, I was the echo in someone else's storm. Not the hero, not the name. In lights, just the steady hand that held their roof till their son returned. Anna's eyes filled. You're the reason my son came back, she whispered. That evening, something huge happened. Anna was invited to appear on a major talk show, a show known for celebrity interviews, big performances, and a massive audience. They wanted her to read her poem live. The studio sent a car. Her manager was thrilled. Calls poured in. But when Anna heard the plan, her mind went still. They want you alone, her manager said. No co-stars, just you. You'll be introduced. As the voice of strength in silence, Anna frowned. They don't want Keanu there? This isn't about him, the manager said quickly. This is your moment. Anna sat in silence. Later that night, as the sun dipped low and city lights blinked on one by one, she knocked on Keanu's trailer door. He opened it. They asked me to read the poem on national TV, she said. He nodded. I heard. Want me to do it alone? She added. Of course, he said. She stepped forward. But I don't want to do it alone. Keanu looked at her. Double quotes, I wouldn't be here without you. I don't mean in the background. I mean right there beside me, he sighed. Anna, people don't always like it when the spotlight is shared. They want a star, not a story of support. She crossed her arms. Then they'll get a real story. And that was it. 2 nights. Later, they were both on set at the talk show stage. Backstage was chaos, producers pacing, lights testing, assistants adjusting wires. But Anna was calm, centered. She held her notebook. In one hand, and Keanu's hand in the other, they stood behind the curtain as the host spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen her grace the screen with her beauty and talent, but recently, she captured the internet with just her words. Please welcome Ana de Armas. Applause roared. Anna stepped out, alone. For the first few steps, then turned and held out her hand. And when Keanu walked out beside her, the room felt quieter, not confused, not angry, just surprised, because it wasn't normal, and that's what made it real. Anna walked to the mic, took a breath, and said, Before I read, I want to say one thing. I've been called brave for using my voice. But the truth is, I wouldn't have found my voice if someone hadn't stood by me when I was silent. This man beside me never asked for credit, never pushed himself forward. He just showed up. Every day, with kindness, with stillness. Because of that, I found my sound. The audience didn't clap yet. They just watched. Listening, Anna opened her notebook and read, If you want to lift someone, don't push them toward the light. Stand in their shadow until they're ready to rise. When they shine, stand still. And let the world see them, and then applause. Real, long, standing ovation. Not just for Anna, but for the story they now saw fully, the one behind the performance. Behind the poem, behind the healing, and Keanu. He didn't bow, he didn't wave. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, letting her shine. She stood tall, but never forgot who helped her rise. The talk show performance changed everything overnight. Ana de Armas wasn't just a star, she became a voice. Articles were written about her courage, her honesty, her friendship with Keanu Reeves. Magazines didn't just ask about her next role, but about the poems she carried. Podcasts invited her to speak, not act. She had stepped into the world not as a character, but as herself. And for the first time in years, that felt enough. After the show aired, she and Keanu walked out of the studio side by side. The night air was cool. The sky above Los Angeles was scattered with stars, almost like the city was listening to. They didn't talk much. There was no need. They had already said everything that mattered. As they reached her car, Anna paused. I keep wondering, she said, why you were the one who noticed me that morning. Keanu leaned against the door, thoughtful. Because I knew that look, he said. I knew the weight you carried. I used to walk into sets hoping someone would just ... ask how I really was. Anna nodded. But most people never ask. No, he said. They don't. So why did you? He looked at her, eyes kind. Because I told myself that if I ever made it through the storms, I'd become the shelter I never had. Anna swallowed hard. You were more than a shelter, she said. You were the reason I didn't collapse. He smiled. No, you didn't. Collapse because there's steel in your spirit. She laughed softly. You sound like one of my poems. Maybe I read too many, he joked, in the following weeks. Everything began to change. Anna started a small online project, a space for writers and artists who felt unseen. She called it Whispers Worth Hearing. It was open to anyone. No followers needed, no fame required. Just truth poems came in from single mothers, from teenagers, from people in hospitals, from lonely fathers. Even from an old actor who used to sweep sets before getting a speaking role. Thousands of entries poured in. Anna read them all. One night, as she sorted through submissions, she came across one that stopped her heart. It had no name, no title. Just 4 lines. She walked alone, and still the sky bent down, to place light in her hands so she could pass it on. Tears welled up in her eyes. She knew who wrote it. She called him immediately. You're supposed to submit under your real name, she said. Keanu chuckled softly over the phone. I thought anonymous felt right. You don't need to hide. Any more, she whispered. I'm not hiding, he said. Her fingers brushed over the notebook on her desk. It had grown full now, not just with her pain, but with her journey. With lessons. With memories. Do you regret it? She asked suddenly. What? Not stepping forward with me that night, not taking credit, not using your name. Keanu was quiet for a moment, then said no. Because you are the story. But so are you, she replied. Months later, Anna stood on stage again, this time at a global creative summit in Europe. Thousands were in the crowd. Lights, cameras, applause. But when she took the mic, she began not with her poem, but with a story. A while ago, she said, I was on a set where I felt invisible. No one noticed. No one asked. And I nearly gave up. The audience leaned in. Then someone stopped me, she continued. He didn't give me advice. He didn't try to fix me. He just stood beside me and listened. That small act changed my life. She looked out into the crowd. And maybe that's what we all need to remember. Greatness isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's not always in front of the camera. Sometimes greatness is found in the quiet person who sees you before the world ever does. Applause filled the air, but Anna didn't look proud. She looked grateful. After the event, in her hotel room, she pulled out that same old notebook, and on the very last page, to the man who stood still while the world turned, who carried silence like it was a gift, who saw the fire before it burned and never asked to be lifted. This story was always ours. Later that year, Anna was offered the role of a lifetime, a character based on a poet who had lived through war, loss, and rebirth. The director said he had seen her poem on TV and knew instantly she was the one Anna accepted. But on one condition, I want to bring my friend Keanu in to work on the script, she said. He understands what this story needs. And they agreed. Because when someone rises from silence and chooses to lift others along the way, the world doesn't. Forget the final day of that film's shooting. Anna stood under the sunset with Keanu. The set was packed up, and most of the crew had left. But the light lingered just a little longer that evening, as if it too wanted to say goodbye. You know, she said, you once told me that when someone shines, you should stand still and let the world see them. Keanu nodded. But you never told me, she said, turning toward him, what to do when the world sees you. And you want them to see the person who stood beside you too. He looked at her with a soft smile. Then you tell them? Anna smiled back. I just did. And they walked off the set not as stars, not as heroes, but as two people who had shared something deeper than a scene, something more lasting than applause. They had shared the silence and turned it into something beautiful.